Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Super Anime Bros podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rosario, joined by my brother, Angelo. And today we're going to talk about something we love.
Welcome back, everybody, to an extra special episode of the Super Anime Bros podcast. What makes it special, you might be asking?
We definitely are asking what?
Yeah, we have our first guest.
Wow, what a day. What a day.
Fellow anime connoisseur and man of culture, Big Mike.
Hello, I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. We're happy to have you. You know, Mike here is an old friend who we've rekindled with over a general love of anime.
Indeed.
You know, I can't help but feel like I wish we had discovered this mutual love sooner.
Yeah, because I've been into this for a very long time.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. You know, I feel like you could have shamaned me a long way back in the day. But,
Yeah.
you know, happy to have the mutual love now.
No time like the present, brother.
That's a fact, dude. That's a fact. So, what's been keeping your attention recently?
I gotta say, ReZero has been definitely my catch up.
All right.
I watched it back when a little bit after it came out, and watched through the second season as well, the first part of it, and then came back around, and well, this first part of the second season ended, and I was like, wow, tough. I gotta wait for the second part to come out, and then just never got back into it, as happens. But then I saw the third season was coming out. Was it last season?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, time to get back into it.
That's it.
You know, slow burn.
Yeah.
Really, really.
Yeah,
good.
that's good to hear.
So, and I might talk about that more because it relates to what I want to talk about.
Ooh, I'd love to hear that.
Holy,
A little teaser there. I like it. I like it.
Teaser.
This may be his first podcast, ladies and gentlemen, but he's already a seasoned pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like I watched ReZero maybe like 2 years ago now with a good buddy of mine. Breezed through the first season, loved it. Like it is great. He had me watching like. There were like some double episode director's cut.
Oh yeah, the director's cut.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah, worth it. Worth it.
Oh, honestly, it was awesome because I haven't seen like a studio take on a show like that probably like ever.
Yeah.
Right, because they had like extra length episodes, would skip the opening and endings right for that season, and so you end up with the director's cut. You'd have like. You know, you combine two episodes together, you end up with like 57-minute episodes, which is like crazy because it's like there's so few commercials. And then, like, you know, when you catch up on the second half of the second season, the average runtime for an episode is 29 minutes and 30 seconds, which means they had like no commercials.
That's wild.
They literally were just like, we don't care, we're just running this straight.
Yeah,
like,
just give me the whole thing.
I've never, and most of them didn't even have openings or endings either. It was like something like an hour and a half of extra runtime.
That's crazy.
For, like,
that's
just
really
one
cool.
one core.
Yeah.
Right. So it was like. Between the two cores, they got like eight extra episodes of content.
That's insane.
Which is nuts. Like the absolute cojones on that studio to do that is crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know I have to catch up. There's just so many things. It's you know, the backlog is
Oh yeah.
It's a mess.
is ever growing, unfortunately.
But other things watching, Don, which you guys were talking about.
So
I was coming home recently, and my dad's the one who actually got me into anime.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's really cool.
My dad's an OG. My dad was watching it in the 60s.
That's
He was
great.
watching like, what is it, Speed Racer, Astro Boy, and like a bunch of those ones. He was watching them since he's like a kid because I guess
awesome.
somehow they had like a Japanese channel
Yeah.
in like on the airwaves in like the 60s.
That's wild.
You know,
Yeah,
That's really
you
cool.
wouldn't think that at all.
Yeah,
That's
so
wild.
He's been he like would watch that. He watched like OVAs all through the 70s, 80s, whatever. Like we had tons of anime in my basement, like on VHS and stuff.
Wow.
And so yeah, it was just so he's like my go-to. I remember like honestly some of my earliest memories. I was like probably 2-3 years old, and me and him were going to like I was like walking down to our basement to go watch Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
And I like fell down the steps and like lost a tooth. Most traumatic moment of my childhood, but for some reason it sticks in my head.
Great.
I was going to go watch Sailor Moon.
That's great.
So it's definitely been like a long-term passion of mine.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we've been watching together. Like I learned to read on the subtitles of anime and stuff. Like,
That's awesome.
It was great.
Damn.
Yeah.
An OG himself.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So whenever I come home, I'm like, Dad, let's watch some anime.
Yeah.
Like, let's do it. And so we watched Don. We did that in like 2 days.
Of course.
Normally we like my dad gets up at like 6 a.m. to work. He's like a mailman.
Yeah.
And so you expect him to go to bed at like I don't know, 11.
Yeah.
Whatever. We were watching Dawn to Dawn till like 1 a.m. It was like it had us.
It's just
hooked.
that good.
And then
That's
we
awesome to
finished that so fast. We were like, because I'm only gonna be home for a week, so I was like, we're gonna do like a 12-episode show. Right?
Yeah.
It's a quick one, but we
Yeah.
finished that so fast. I was like, I guess we got room for another, and so we started watching Bocchi the Rock. I don't know if
Yeah,
you
how
know.
was that?
Dude, banger show.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's done by, I think it was done before Free Ren. It's done by the same director.
Really?
Yeah. And
Okay.
that was, I think that was kind of like his. He'd like been known in the industry, but like that was one of his like big ones.
Breakout,
Like,
yeah.
Everyone was like, "Holy crap, Bocchi the Rock!"
Yeah,
does
it got so
not
much
deserve
hype.
to be that good.
That's wild.
Yeah, because it was like a 4 koma, which is like the four. Are you familiar with that? They're like the 4 panels manga.
No.
It's like each chapter is like 1 page of just four
panels. That's crazy.
And he somehow like took that together and combined the entire thing in like a cohesive 12-episode
That's
show.
unreal.
Yeah, and
That's unreal.
so good. Yeah. And like filled in like a ton of blanks. I don't know. Yeah, crazy stuff. And then obviously he jumps onto Free Ren, and which I assume you've seen.
I have not actually.
Really?
Yeah, so
I'm watching it right now.
yeah, talking about right now. Right now he's watching that, and I'm watching the other My Anime List Top Dog for the first time. Full Metal.
Oh.
So yeah, watching those concurrently is actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, you've
Thoughts?
been enjoying Full Metal a
Oh,
lot.
it's been so. I was gonna ask for your thoughts on Freeman first, but
Oh, sorry.
I'll spill. No, I'll spill.
No,
We're
spill the
here.
tea. Spill the tea.
Have you've seen Full Metal
Yeah.
Brotherhood?
Love
Have you
it.
seen both or just?
Yeah. Well, I saw the OG one back when it like came out.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember. I don't
Okay,
remember anything from
fair
it.
enough.
But Brotherhood, I watched a couple years back.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah, so I had watched 10-ish episodes earlier last year. Oh, last year, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Only been 2 weeks.
Right. And it was great. Like I do this so often where I'll dive into a show, I'll watch a bunch of it, I'll binge it, and then I'll just stop.
Yeah.
I've done it with so many like really good shows.
Yeah.
But I don't know what possessed me the other day. I'm just like, I'm going to continue watching this, and I've watched like 24 episodes in the last 3 days.
Really?
It has been just such a grind.
Once you
it's
get going.
so good.
Once you get going.
It's so good. Like, still so much mystery to unravel. But I love it. I love the world building. Like, something feels so painful and so real about a lot of the tragedy in it. The characters are all fantastic. Obviously, there's something relatable with like the main character being a brother. You know, like that whole aspect of being, especially the big brother with Ed. It's just like very relatable. So it has been so good.
Yeah.
So good. I plan to finish it. I have a couple days off next week. I think I'm gonna kill it.
Just
Finish it. Yeah.
Yeah. And you got it. It's honestly like there's a reason it's always been at the top because it's just like when it comes to like finished stories, it is just like right.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
How you been feeling about Free Ren?
It's been good. It's been good. I'm, I think, like 13 episodes in or so.
Okay.
We just got out of like a semi-major fight, which was super cool to watch.
Oh, the Aura one, I assume.
I saw the
Yeah,
last
Freewood
episode
was
of that.
cold in that
Crazy.
one.
Oh, so
Because the
good.
first like couple episodes are, I feel like, start like kind of slow. Not like I don't want to watch it slow, but like there's definitely a build up there to finally seeing like Freerin display some of her power. It's awesome.
Yeah. It's a very vibey show.
Yeah, like the atmosphere is just great. The characters are all lovable. It's great.
Animation.
Oh yeah,
Perfection.
fantastic.
It does not deserve to go as hard as it does. That much.
That's
is-
why, like, I was so shocked. Obviously, it got a ton of hype. I was so shocked to see on my anime list, like, it just be that high rated. Like, that's wild.
'Cause,
Out of
like-
a one season show.
Because so much stuff is like, Full Metal Alchemist was always like number one.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
always
yeah.
number one.
No matter
stuff
what.
would like
Yeah.
come up and catch it and then fall back down again.
Yeah.
But Freerin, like that's the thing crazy because normally like I feel like the Full Metal Alchemist bros will all come out like,
Without a doubt, yeah.
one star,
Yeah,
anything that
yeah.
gets above it because they're like we want this top dog. Right?
That's how they
And-
roll.
Yeah, Freerin's beating it by like 0.15 points or something, which
Yeah. This is
that like
nuts, yeah.
is insane.
That's
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's one of the most like unique shows I've watched.
Yeah.
With like the story beginning after the big fight.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think the-
beyond the journey's end. Huh?
I think the other big appeal of it to me too is that normally like we're talking about this before the podcast, right? You run into these shows where you can't recommend them to the average person.
Yes,
because
without a
they're
doubt.
just so Japanese
Yeah.
and like you either go in, you don't understand the context of it, of like the culture, or like they're just quite frankly weird.
Yes, for sure. I think weird's a good way
Too
to
much
describe
fan
it.
service.
Yeah,
Well,
like,
that's
you
some shows.
you recommend it to a friend and they're like, dude, you should be in jail. Like,
Like, what are you doing here? What are we doing?
Yeah, that I think Free Reign is definitely what I would consider a beginner show.
yeah, which I feel like Full Metal Alchemist is really good for that because it's a really good show. It hits on a lot of stuff that's like applicable to both like Eastern Western cultures.
Without a doubt,
right?
yeah.
Same thing with Attack on Titan. I feel like Attack on Titan had so many Western influences on it that it was like, especially like very German influences.
Yeah, for sure.
That it really appealed to like the average
Without a
Westerner.
doubt. Yeah,
right?
I mean
And
that was one of the first that really, really, really got me into it.
Yeah, and I
As
think
a-
Free Reign
like my-
captures the vibe that I kind of got from like Lord of the Rings.
That's
right?
yeah.
It's like
that's,
that like
that's a great.
fantasy world that like really feels lived in,
Mhm.
and I think that's really where it pulls a lot. Of
I
its
mean,
good
if you want somebody to watch something, I think that's a good thing to compare it to. Damn, that's wild.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm a big fan. Like, I'm excited to keep watching more. I have a lot of stuff like on my backlog right now,
Yeah,
but I push Free Reign to the front for
Yeah.
now.
yeah.
Then it's like Seven Deadly Sins
Mhm.
and
You're
Fairy
really
Tale.
brave that one.
I'm brave.
Seven Deadly Mids.
I really enjoyed the first season.
That's what they all say.
Yeah.
Second season is not as good, but I'm gonna stick with
Have
it.
you seen the later seasons animation, like the couple of clips of that, or no?
No, I've been trying to stay away. I think by that point I'll already be loyal to the show and characters,
Fair enough.
which I feel like I am at this point. So if the animation like regresses that badly, hopefully I'll be able to.
Push
The seven deadly frames.
I'll be able to stick it
Seven
out.
Deadly Mids.
All right, you guys gotta stop.
No, you like what you like. Like I'm not.
Yeah, but yeah, that's on my backlog, and Fairy Tale is also. And I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
so Free Reign's only one season.
Yeah.
I'll do that first because that'll be done the quickest.
Yeah.
And then probably Seven Deadly Sins, and then eventually Fairy
Is
Tale.
Free Reign a complete story, or is there going to be like?
No,
more?
there's gonna be more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like a lot more, you think? Or?
I think so.
Interesting.
At the very least, it's not. I feel like it's not even really close to being done yet.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
quite a bit left.
Anything big on your backlog?
Mm.
I mean, having been up on it for so long, I feel like it's.
Yeah, but there's things I missed. I recently watched Evangelion because I hadn't seen.
Let's go.
I hadn't seen that.
Let's go.
Like, even though it's been the like one of the main top ones talked about for ages.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Finally got around to watching it. Honestly, like the last 2 episodes of the like original first season,
Yeah,
I was like,
love it or hate it,
"What
love it or
is
hate it."
this, dude?"
Love it or hate it.
But yeah, it was
Did you
solid.
watch the film then?
Yeah, I watched the film to wrap it up. Yeah. Which honestly, that scene that shows up in like the first 5
Yes,
minutes,
yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, "No
yeah.
way! This
No,
is like
it's
the
crazy.
opening
It's
of the
crazy.
movie."
Yeah, one of my buddies was watching it, and I had to warn about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They like re-released it in movie theaters last year for I don't even know if it was for an anniversary. I don't think it would have
Evangelion
been.
or something.
Yeah, the end of it. Yeah. It was like the first time it was ever in United States theaters.
Mm.
We went to see it, and like seeing that in the big screen,
Dude, that's
dude, I'm
crazy.
telling you, this theater was packed.
It
Oh,
was
wild.
quiet.
It was wild.
It was very awkward.
Yeah, I love that. I adore that show. It's my second favorite show of all time.
I'm trying to think of what else
Um,
I've been meaning to watch. ReZero was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the one romance one that came out last season that you guys were really talking about.
Ooh, Blue Box.
Yeah, Blue Box. I'm
Yeah,
looking.
as
I'm
you should,
Waiting
yeah.
to binge that because I know as soon as I get on that, like,
As
once
you
I get on
should.
romance, I'm gone.
Yeah, I feel like romances are like probably best enjoyed that way.
Yeah.
Like a lot of my like fondest memories of watching romance animes are all ones that I watched in like a week.
Yeah.
Like, it's nice
because
to-
then you like get invested in the characters.
Yeah, it's nice to watch stuff weekly because it just helps you pace yourself. So like, oh, I can enjoy this story for 3 months instead of 2 days.
Yeah.
But being able to just binge it, I feel like I do enjoy that better.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of conversation that can be had around that, and not
That
even
could be a
just
whole
in-
episode.
for
Yeah.
sure. Maybe put that on the back burner, but yeah, like I've definitely seen value in both. I don't think I have the willpower to do as you do and like wait and then binge. Like
Yeah, but the reason I got like this is the weird take
Okay,
right,
okay.
about binging
Yeah.
for me. I love binging because I forget it really quick.
okay, no, that's fair. That's
I'll
fair.
binge a show, love it,
Yeah.
forget it, and like 3 months, and I can come back and I can do it again
It's just
and
there
get like
for
the
you,
same. That's how ReZero was for me.
I like that.
binged the
That's
crap out of
interesting.
ReZero, and then forgot it all. And like it's largely like a mystery, right?
Mhm.
And so like if you know what's going on, like
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
not
as
as
engaging,
entertaining
right?
and engaging. Yeah.
but like I forgot like all of it, and so I went back in and was like, this is
That's
like
great.
it's all
That's
over
great,
again.
yeah.
This is sick.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I do think like of shows I've rewatched, I've definitely rewatched more that I've binged.
That's a very interesting thought.
But I mean, I did binge all the ones in the beginning because I was new to anime.
yeah, everything was new. Yeah,
I don't know.
that's an interesting thought. Because I feel like maybe it is more so you're rewatching stuff that you have such fond memories of from.
Like, yeah, because what I also like weekly, you have a week to process it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
I see the value.
Yeah. No, I like that. And
I
guess
definitely don't have the willpower though, and
No.
with like worrying about spoilers.
spoilers are hard.
That's the thing. Once I
I'd
see
be
it
too
show up on
scared.
like Instagram reels or something, I'm like, I have to watch this now.
Yeah,
I'm
fair
gonna
enough,
get so
it's
much
over.
spoiled.
Well, yesterday's episode of Blue Box, and it's a little annoying because you'll see some stuff because Japan for some reason is a week ahead on their Netflix
Yeah.
than we are.
Okay.
But yesterday's episode that came out in the United States was like crazy big, amazing episode. One of, like probably the best episode of the show yet. And like immediately after I saw it on Instagram Reels, and I'm like, holy shit, God, shoot! I like that was so close. It was so
There goes
close
our
to being an
PG
issue.
rating.
13 whoops.
Yeah,
I
we'll
guess
call
I
it
better
a
start dropping
PG-13.
F-bombs, right?
Well, maybe reel it back. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, the reason, what I mentioned about ReZero earlier, about and why I'm gonna take it back to the main topic of this, right,
Yeah.
is that ReZero is similar to one of my favorite shows that you guys have talked about, and it was why I
What
was
might
like,
that be?
I want to get on this,
Yeah.
right? And that is Oshi No Ko,
Yeah.
right? And just since I'm talking ReZero real quick, I'll say that what I love about ReZero is that most isekai are just like self-insert, like fantasy adventure. right?
Yeah.
Whereas ReZero is truly like a mystery drama kind of deal, which is, I would say, largely what Oshi No Ko is.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
It's mystery drama, kind of revenge, right? And there's a
Yeah.
lot of like revenge elements in ReZero from the first season.
For
if you
sure.
if you saw that part. But yeah, main reason I came onto this was to talk Oshi No Ko.
Yeah, I mean, like, so we obviously we put out our Oshi No Ko episode, and you texted me and you're like, "There's so much more I want to talk about here. Let's collaborate." And pretty exciting to be able to bring on our first guest and talk about. I mean, especially Angela. I know you
Yeah,
love this. Oh, you probably a little bit more than I do, but
I'd say definitely.
okay, definitely. We do have rankings. But like after watching this second season, like it hit me so much harder than the first season. So I'm very, very intrigued to see
Why is that? Real
what
quick,
depth
going
you
into
have.
that?
I just like, I don't know why I was so much more compelled. I don't know if maybe I was more open to it this season. I really enjoyed the setting of the play for most of it.
Mhm.
I found that to be kind of relatable, and I found that to be a lot of fun. I enjoyed the heightened romance.
Mhm. This season was definitely juicier.
And like, for sure.
Yeah.
Overall, like, I really, really enjoyed Aqua's character in this season. Like, seeing him break down, seeing maybe his revenge plot be foiled, and him be able to almost let go of that.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like in most stories where somebody is aiming for revenge, they get it,
Yeah.
for better or worse.
Yeah.
And look, obviously there's more to come, but to see a character have to accept that they're not going to be able to get that, they're not going to be able to get the closure in the way they thought they were, was so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So interesting.
No, definitely. And so, yeah, I guess going into this, we should definitely call spoiler warning. Cause
Yes,
there's going to be
we're pretty good at that
heavy
usually.
spoilers deep.
We're not
yeah,
doing
deep
manga
as I dig
spoilers,
in.
I hope.
Yeah, no, I'm anime
He's
only, so don't
anime
spoil
only,
me. I
just
know
like
you
you,
watch it.
baby, just
Yeah,
like
I know
me.
you read it. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
don't
No, you
don't do
usually
me
do
dirty
it
like
with
that.
that.
No, I wouldn't do that to you guys.
I appreciate that.
Respect,
Appreciate
respect.
I wouldn't do that.
it. Yeah. So I guess I'll get into it.
Yeah, yeah.
I prepared like 10 pages of notes for this, but I'll definitely not go over all of that.
No, it sounds good.
But I think you start with you have a show, right? It's made by someone, so I thought I'd start with the studio.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think I followed Love is War. You guys seen Love is War?
Yeah, love
right?
Love is War.
Love is War.
favorite romance.
Fantastic, right? And Giguk had done a video on Oshi No Ko, or at least mentioned it, like really like was like, this is it. This is like the next big one, right? While it was still manga.
Yeah.
And I saw it get announced a little while later, and I was like, holy crap, like this is gonna be crazy. And I was wondering who was gonna do it, because in terms of like good drama studios, who did Fruits Basket? I feel like Fruits
That's a
Basket was
great
like
question.
the big
What's
romance drama that I was like, this is how you do a drama.
Yeah, it was done so well.
Yeah.
So well. Which one's on soon?
CEO Dean.
No, that's the
No,
OG.
that's the original.
That's the
What was
OG.
the
That says 9. Oh, no, that's
2001.
the OG.
You gotta.
Alright, wait, here's the
There you go, there you
time.
go.
Alright,
Yeah.
I'll find the research. You guys keep rolling.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Should say that.
I am still not finding it.
TMS Entertainment. Is that a studio?
Maybe.
This is great podcasting.
Well, anyway, while you search,
Keep rolling.
There's not many great drama studios that I can think of off the rip, because I feel like a lot of the times drama kind of gets left behind, right?
For sure, without a doubt.
very like
Especially
I think,
in the mainstream.
yeah, definitely. I think like when I think drama, I think like Death Note, I think Monster, right? Fruits Basket, I definitely would classify as a drama. Maybe like Apothecary Diaries, right? But yeah, I definitely think I feel like it is underrated as a genre, because I feel like shonen action usually just like
Overshadows everything.
So I was interested in who it would be, and then I saw it was Doga Koba. Doga Koba. Doga Kobo. Oh my god. Their name's tough.
You got it.
But so they were I was first introduced to them back when they did My Senpai's Annoying, which is the quintessential kind of show they do. Yeah, it's they were founded in the 70s, I guess, and they really like started to make, as far as I know, like it said like Wikipedia was like they were founded in the 70s, but I only know them like 2005 onwards.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And they did all like the cute girls do like cute things kind of shows.
What a genre, yeah.
Some like Yuri stuff, a little bit of that,
Right?
you know, like
cute girls doing really cute things.
occasionally have like a traditional romance. They're really famous for like Plastic Memories and
Okay.
what was it, Nozaki-kun, whatever that one was. They were both, I think, their biggest ones, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
Nozaki-kun was a traditional romance. Plastic Memories was pretty heavy. I haven't watched it.
Yeah,
but
I thought that had definitely some drama elements.
yeah.
from what
So
I've heard.
they've done their better ones did have those kind of elements to them, but they were mainly known for kind of the cute girls, cute things stuff, and they aren't really known for like they have good like single frame animation, but never really like much action, which I guess Oshi No Ko doesn't have a ton, but even in the second, like with the theater in the second season,
they did
like
so
knocked
well
that
with
out of
that.
the park.
Yeah,
That was
great.
spectacular.
And so yeah, I knew them, like some of their big names for people who might be in the know, right? They did like Umaru-chan and Graybill Dropout, which were like memed like crazy back in the day.
Yeah.
Like a lot of more like comfort shows, like Helpful Fox, Senko-san, The Sleepy Princess and the Demon Castle. Like these all sound like the very like cute kind of shows. They also did How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift?
Never watched it, but definitely heard about that. Definitely have heard about that.
The one show that got like weebs working out.
Yeah,
it was
that's
like,
great.
It was like a psyop to like how can we get all of these weebs to
live
get in the gym.
That's great.
And like cute little romances. They did Shikimori is Not Just a Cutie.
Yep,
right?
yep, yep.
Alyo was really big. That was
that's
one I
the
watched.
good. Alyo's so
Alyo's
good.
really good. Yeah, and so I usually think like 7.5 out of 10 shows, right? Solid, cute, fun, but nothing like
not
that's
a
gonna really
masterpiece.
nothing's gonna grip you, right? And so I didn't have like the highest of expectations going to Oshi No Ko because of that. And then, dude, the first episode,
I mean,
hour and a half,
the first episode's insane.
theater length movie, absolutely like. Which again is like we were talking with ReZero, like the balls in that studio to like just say screw it, I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
these,
we're gonna
no commercial
exactly
episodes, and Oshi No Ko was like screw it, we're just gonna release a movie
pretty much,
casually.
and it's gonna be the first episode.
Yeah, and which it needed for that arc, because that arc was so like self-contained.
Without a doubt, yeah.
And not even-
it is like a prologue in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I didn't know terribly much about the show going into it. I knew like the basic plot line from the Giguk video, but what really like impressed me, and I thought was also pretty ballsy of the studio, was in their marketing. They put I front and center in all the marketing.
She's
It's like
everything,
I's the main character, I's the main character, I's the main character, and then first episode dead. I was like,
It's crazy.
And which, like, you know, a lot of shows have done kind of a bait and switch on the main character before. Right?
For sure.
Like, I think Attack on Titan. Well,
They
Attack on Titan like tried, right?
Yes,
They had, like, Eren die.
for an episode or two. Yeah.
I remember when I first watched Attack on Titan. It was like
Yeah.
my senior year of high school, and it was
Yeah.
like 3 days before we were set to like graduate. Maybe it was my junior year. I don't know. It was like 3 days before summer break.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll just watch one more episode. We got to the episode where Eren gets killed, and I was like, well, I stayed up till like 4 a.m.
I
Like,
guess
the
we're gonna
entire
keep
like
going,
first season.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
that's
4
so good.
episodes in, right? It's
I
really-
think it's the 5th episode. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so-
crazy.
Yeah. So I like. Yeah, so then for them to actually do that bait and switch and like stick to it
Without a
was
doubt. Yeah.
crazy.
Not something you see very often.
Yeah, and so I think that was like instant respect, right off the rip.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the studio, and then I'll just briefly go over the characters just so that people have a little context. They haven't seen it in a little while.
Sounds good.
whatever, right? So who we were talking about, she was the original kind of main character.
Goat.
Yeah, when it kicked off the story, she was an idol. She was picked up by a talent agency as an orphan to be the lead for an idol group called B Komachi.
So much.
And you know, the story really starts in earnest when she has twins at 16, right? And they're the protagonists of the story, Aqua and Ruby. And so the whole twist in the first episode is she gets killed before her first dome show by an angry fan who got info on where she was from the father of the twins. Supposedly, it hasn't totally been confirmed.
Yeah.
But that's the going
It's
theory.
confirmed.
Who's
that
to say,
Aqua's dead.
really?
Yeah.
Who's to say?
I mean, it's true. He has no clue. Man.
Yeah. And then we got Ruby, who's one of the main twins. She was originally a cancer patient. Serena Tendoji, who reincarnated as Ai's child. This is kind of a reincarnation story.
Mm-hmm. That was one of the first things I had heard about it that I thought was so interesting, and especially to hear the writer be Akasaka, the same writer as Love is War. Like, such a crazy different main premise.
Yeah, from Love is War, which is such like a funny comedy.
Yeah, we can talk about it a little more later.
Yeah. And yeah, so before Ruby was Ruby, and when she was Serena, she was a massive fan of Ai, and then she got her doctor Goro Amamiya into Ai as well. So they were like big fans together, and she was in love with Goro because there was no one really there for her when she was a cancer patient, right? So there's no one. Her parents kind of didn't come to visit her.
Yeah, they definitely made a point of like nobody came to visit her. It seemed like nobody really cared, and that's really tough to.
Yeah, and so there was one guy there for her, that was Goro. And so even though it's kind of weird with the age difference, because he's like an older doctor and she was kind of a
For
teenager.
sure, yeah.
But, you know, like,
It's Japan. Also.
it's Japan, and also, like, it was one-sided.
Yeah, it's
right?
an innocent.
So, like,
yeah,
it's
an innocent.
I feel like it's weird if he's into her.
for sure.
It's not as weird if, you know.
Yeah, it's an
she's
innocent
into her.
She has
admiration.
an innocent crush.
Yeah. Especially when it's, like, the one person there for you when you're, you know.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Right. And so she dies before Ai becomes pregnant, but I think like 4 months before, which rewatching going into this, I realized like she didn't know anything about like Ai being pregnant in the hospital and being Goro's patient. She didn't know that.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
That was kind of a reveal like late in the second season because she died before
yeah,
Ai,
which
like,
is crazy.
even came
Yeah.
about. Yeah. So yeah, her whole dream after she was reborn was restarting Bikomachi and being an idol herself, right? And you got Aqua, who's our main boy. He's probably like the main character. Ruby kind of
Yeah,
gets the back,
especially
the
this
backseat all.
last season.
Yeah. And he was so Goro Amamiya, the doctor for Serena, was the one who reincarnated as Aqua, right? Because he got murdered right before Ai had her kids by the same guy who later will murder Ai.
Indeed.
And then he realized that his dad was responsible for Ai's death at the funeral.
I don't even know.
That's when he like put it together. They were in the back of
Yeah.
like the car,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, this guy like had the
Yeah, like how
one who killed
else
Ai. He
would've
was
known?
like just an average college student.
Yeah.
He had no way of figuring out that information.
Yeah.
Who was she in contact with before? You see pretty soon before that she was in contact with their father.
Yeah.
So really Aqua, puts 2 and 2 together. Is like the only person who could have known where Ai is my father.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's his kind of motivation. And then so like Ruby's very pure. Aqua's a revenge story. He's not very pure. Ruby's like, I want to continue on the month's
Exactly,
legacy.
yeah.
She's very pure, right? Also, Aqua's especially like hit hard because he is like in Ai's arms while she dies, whereas like Ruby's not.
it's unbelievably painful to see.
Yeah. And then we got our two potential love interests for
Oh,
Aqua,
baby.
who's mainly who I'm going to talk about this because,
Yeah.
I'm a serial chipper, dude. I
Yeah.
love this stuff.
Let's go.
So Kana Arima, who's our little redheaded tsundere, and she's a childhood friend of Aqua's from when they acted in a movie together. And she was really famous as a childhood actor, but struggled after she grew up because she was really difficult to work with and really entitled as a kid. Because everyone gave her what she wanted. But then when you grow up, that doesn't really work.
No, sir.
And then Akane Kurokawa is the blue-haired potential love interest. There's already a little bit of funkiness there with the red blue hair, and she's a stage actor who's really talented at reading people. So Aqua really picks up on that since he's searching for his father. But yeah, she got into acting as a child because she admired Kana, but now has beef with her due to Kana's rough personality.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting to reveal in the second season. Did they talk about that at all?
Yeah,
in the first
second
season?
season.
Yeah, it was
Not
not the second
first.
season. Yeah. Hey, that's a really interesting twist of fate, and I think it's cool to really, really tie our main characters together in that way.
And how hard must it be? So one of the things that we'll talk about when we get into little more love is war kind of stuff, but Aka Akasaka loves to traumatize one of his female characters, usually in each at least in the two that I've seen, right? Oshi No Ko, and he does it very explicitly in Love is War with Maki. And so it's really funny for him to be doing the same thing to Kana, where it's like, all right, Kana inspires this girl to go into acting, and then this girl then cucks Kana by stealing her man.
It's too good. Poor Maki.
But yeah, so those are the main characters, and then I'll go into started off a little light, go with some fun facts of the show.
Yeah, there's some really interesting stuff in here.
Yeah, the title of the show is Oshi No Ko, and they didn't usually you translate titles of shows. To make it easier for the Western audience, but they didn't translate it because it's more or less untranslatable because it can mean both my favorite idol and their idol's children, which is like a very good play.
That's really, really cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, because of the rebirth with children of the idol, and then also I being such a famous.
And I really appreciate them not attempting to translate that in some way. Like a beef I have with my favorite show, and we'll talk about this, Edge and I, when we get to the episode, is that Shingeki no Kyojin translates more literally to the Attack Titan, yet the show in English is Attack on Titan, which makes, to me, no sense at all.
Yeah. Which I had heard that the author, I forget his name now, but he'd said he'd actually asked for it to be Attack on Titan because it's meant to be. It's Attack on Titan, but it can also be translated like Attack of the Titans. I believe. And so it's also like a double meaning one.
Interesting.
And so he didn't want it to be translated as the Attack Titan because obviously that's going to...
For sure, yeah. That's very interesting.
Yeah. So
Attack on the Titans.
That's one they also should have just left alone.
That's kind of cool too, though.
Yeah. No, for sure. That's what I'm saying. That's awesome.
Titans.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So I think they settled on Attack on Titan because it was like the closest.
In the middle, not too many words.
Yeah.
Not like in your crazy reincarnated isekai title range.
They have the entire summary of the show as the title to it.
That's the funny. It's ridiculous.
So, yeah, some fun facts about Oshi No Ko. It takes place in the same universe as Love is War, which is why I've been talking about Love is War a lot. And
yeah, I saw that fairly recently, and like, it hurts my soul a little bit. Like, I don't want to believe that in the same world that my precious Love is War characters, like, this crazy stuff is going on.
Yeah, there's a part with earlier in Love is War where Kei Shirogane is reading I'll Go With You Sweet Today, which is the manga that they're doing a live adaptation of.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And that's... When I first was like watching Oshi No Ko, I didn't realize it was the same universe either, and I was like, I saw it and I like recognized the cover of it from Love is War, and I was like, why have I seen this before? This is so weird.
That's crazy.
So that was funny when I found out about that, and it's speculated to be about 10 to 20 years after Kaguya.
I think that's really interesting.
Which is pretty cool. Bit of a time skip there.
Yeah.
Yes, everything went to hell after Kaguya.
Good.
Yeah. Kaguya is beautiful.
No, they're all happy.
And then Sweet Today manga, which was Aqua's first gig as an actor out of high school or in high school, And then Shiranui Frill, which is a younger sister of a character in Kaguya, and that character in Kaguya also works in the entertainment industry, so it's like a family.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
The one that I thought was pretty crazy.
Yeah, this is great.
So Pieon, which is the famous YouTuber in the same agency as Aqua and Ruby, is like this real dork of a dude. He's like jacked, he's so jacked, and wears like a bird mask over his head. It's like a bucket, and speaks in a really high voice. It's basically like a YouTuber for children, right? And everyone's speculating that he's the cheer captain from Love Is War at Shujin.
Yeah, that's really wild.
Because like I guess one of the big tells are like they never really show his face.
Yeah,
right? Which is weird. Why would he not show his face?
No, you're right.
And he's got similar jack build.
For sure.
They also share the same voice.
Which like that's
right? Which is a big tell.
You're doing something there on purpose. I feel. Yeah, that's really wild.
Yeah, and then also the parallels between Maki and Kana. Especially with season 2 Kana.
Yeah, she is a losing heroine at this point.
Yeah, she's having it rough, right? I still have hope. I'm Team Kana all the way.
Okay, well, you're getting this.
Yeah, you're the only one, buddy.
Yeah. Wait, you guys are a Kana?
Yeah, all the way.
I mean, it's tough because I really got so into season 1. And Kana really was like having
she was great, yes, without a doubt. If you asked me in season 1, I think I would have said Kana. Yeah. And if you read me this description, red-haired tsundere, I'm like 10 times out of 10 I choose that character. I'm like Akane is she's so good in season 2.
But a blue-haired yandere. She's not that bad.
Yeah. Well, the thing is she's getting there. That's
she's like a very very
in a
mild
great way.
Yandere.
Yeah.
Crazy in the best way possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think.
So I guess, speaking of the girls, right?
Yeah,
the main theme I want to discuss in this is that I thought was really interesting is that you have like Akane and Kana are like so opposites of each other. Right?
Without
the blue hair, the red hair, tsundere versus like kind of kudere, kind of yandere, right? Both kind of crazy in their own right. But,
for sure.
Akane is like way more serious. Kana is way more just like messing around, right? And so what I think is really interesting is I think they're really good foils for Aqua as characters.
Yeah,
right?
okay, I see.
They kind of showed like the two sides of who Aqua is. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Aqua is like Aqua's a very good dude. He's very kind. He's like compassionate. He saves Akane on the bridge, right? Like really goes out of his way to like be there for Kana and like be friends with her, right? But he's also got that darker side,
without a doubt,
and where that's like really motivated by the revenge part, right? And so it's interesting because when you think about it, the only reason he's with Akane is because of that darker side of him. He wants to use her, right?
Without a doubt.
So that's the only motivation for him getting with her. It's
true.
Is that. Whereas, so he starts off like kind of like using her, and then kind of slowly questionably falls in love with her. I'm not fully bought into it. Maybe it's cope.
I bought it pretty good. Yeah. That copium must be real good over there.
Yeah.
No, I mean
But then Kana is like the opposite, right? Kana, he starts off like hating her because she's obnoxious and annoying, right? But then as they like get to hang out more and more, he really starts to like value her as a friend, and in a very innocent,
in a less "I'm using you" kind of way.
Yeah.
Which is the purity of that is.
Yeah, and Kana feels a little more pure. Akane is definitely not so much.
She's in the darkness.
And so it's really cool because it's like, all right, the bad side, it's like they like kind of flip, right? It's like with Aqua, it's like the bad side is what got him with Akane, but then his good side is what kind of like makes her stay with her. Mm-hmm. But then Kana, it's like the good side of him is what gets like he hates her in the beginning. Yeah. But then like starts to like her because of his like good side. Yeah. So hard to explain. Yeah. Like hopefully that makes sense.
But maybe the bad side
made sense to me.
Him away from her.
Yeah.
And then not
which is true because he never shares anything with her. Yeah. Right. So it's like the bad side
doesn't want to drag her into anything or.
Yeah. Which is really interesting because he'll never really like he'll rely on Kana for emotional support, but he'll never explain anything to her.
No, not at all. And she's continuously there for her. Yes, exactly. Yeah. He's begun to unravel some things too. Akane. Interesting.
Yeah. And so I guess just to like back up my whole thing about Aqua being not just a cold, brutal man.
I would love to hear this because he is
he comes
he's
off that
getting
way.
yeah,
very
he's
strong.
getting hard to redeem at points.
Yeah, I think like off the rip before he's died, right? His relationship with Serena is pretty clear, right? He feels really bad for her because no one's there for her, so he goes out of his way to spend a lot of time with her and like, try to keep her hopes up.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Even though there's obviously no reason for him to do that, right? Beyond just feeling compassion for her.
Yeah, full kindness.
Yeah, and then Akane, and this I'm gonna use a little bit of how Akane is like the Giga Brain in this show, right? If she reads someone as something, they are that something. Like, that is what the show basically says, right? And she says it like all throughout the second season when they really him and her start really get talking. But on the bridge, she was like, "I knew you had a cunning side from the start, but that's not all I know. You didn't save me on this bridge out of self-interest. The reason I wasn't put off when you kissed me was because I know you're kind-hearted." Right? She was like, she knows there's good in there.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, later in that scene, it's especially interesting that once he like is like, yeah, my dad's actually dead. I don't have to have revenge anymore. She's like, oh my God, like he's past it now. He's moved on, and he can like, I want to keep this kind-heartedness, which is why she like runs away from him once she realizes like the loophole in his assumptions.
His theory.
Yeah.
Brilliant, by the way. That scene.
That scene's
so good.
Yeah, especially like, because you're like thinking about it. You're like, I know there's something in the gut where you're like, this is now.
Yes, no, without a doubt.
Right.
Without a doubt.
And then she puts two and two together, and they're like the subtle, like they didn't like explicitly say it out loud, but showed you like the
that was an awesome way to do it. Yeah.
Of like, all right, it wasn't the dad cheating, it was the mom, and then that's pretty crazy. Speaking of, right, so towards the end, I was rewatching it too. I saw, when the god of death, white-haired girl, right, was talking to Ruby, and she's like, there were two people outside the hospital scheming when Guro got killed, right? It was the assassin eye and then a middle schooler, and I was like, wait a minute, he was like 15, like let's say 15. Middle school, late middle school. Because I think they do an extra year there, so maybe. Yeah,
they do it differently. Because they only do 3 years of high school.
Yeah. Aqua's how old right now? He's a first year, so he's.
Yeah, they're 15 or 16.
It's like
probably
16. Yeah.
Right. Himikawa, his brother. By his father. Is 20.
Yeah.
Crazy. So you subtract 14.
Like, what was this guy doing?
4 years, homie.
Yeah.
Aqua's dad is actually a victim. That's the that's the takeaway.
Can I tell
you?
You might find out.
Ooh, interesting.
The bigger picture there. Without spoiling anything.
Yeah.
There's definitely more to unpack.
That's a crazy thought.
And good on you figuring that out.
You're never gonna have a good villain who is so one-sided.
Yeah,
like,
without just evil. I'm gonna kill these people. Yeah, it's like no, you're so right.
Maybe he was the victim all along, but obviously doesn't excuse
certainly not.
Serial impregnating and murdering women. But whatever.
I read this earlier when you had first put it in, and that's such a crazy realization.
Yeah,
I never would have thought to think of, but you're so right. Like paying close attention to specifically what she said there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so basically like that's my take. And especially like once Aqua realizes his father's dead, he's like, I'm free now. I don't have to worry about revenge anymore. Yeah. So he doesn't want to be a bad guy. He wants to be a good guy. That's the main takeaway I have, right?
Yeah.
So with that said, Akane's his darker side and Kana's like his pure side. I see it. And when he kind of like first catches feelings for Akane, I don't know if you even call it catches feelings because it's when she first when she first dissects Ai, right?
Yeah, like I don't know what I would call his feeling.
He takes interest in her.
I think that's a good way to put it. We had said it like right before we started recording and just going through some of our favorite scenes, like that scene where she comes into the room just is Ai. Mm-hmm. Like that's one of my favorite scenes in the entire show.
Can I just say the lead in to the endings?
It's so good.
So good.
It's so well done.
I don't know why more shows don't do that.
It is one of my favorite Thanks.
Play the ending song. Over the
It's
clip.
so good.
It's so good. Yeah.
Man, it builds such. I don't know if I would even say it builds tension just at the end, but it's like, okay, like this is our climax that we're gonna wait till the next episode for. Like, here it is. This is gonna be crazy every time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think. Yeah, it's really good. One last thing on Akane while I'm still talking about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
One of like the main themes that shows up with her interest in Aqua that I think is interesting how explicitly it's said,
Mhm.
right? Is on the balcony, on the bridge, on the balcony where they're talking about like, you know,
Yeah,
fun murder times,
ice and
right?
some fools.
Yeah, and then the bridge where they're like, Aqua's potentially gonna break up with her, and she's like, "Nah, like, we can make this happen."
Yeah.
And then when they actually do make it happen at the end, when they like fully get together, right? Every single time, she's like, "I want to shoulder your burdens," right?
Mhm.
Which I think is really interesting because right before the bridge scene, Aqua has like his whole internal monologue about how he's like, you know, Himikawa has just talked to him about the dad. He's like, I'm free from this revenge plot.
Yeah.
I don't need her anymore in like a
Yeah.
usury sense,
Yeah.
right? And he's like, I don't need her anymore that way, and I can't justify it like with my ego anymore that way, right? And then like what flashes in his head is her like hugging him after she realizes that he is a secret child of I,
Mhm.
you know, and he like stops for a second. He's like, but. And it's like, but he can't let go of her.
Yeah.
And it's like, why?
Yeah.
Right? And it's because she's a good person. She's also a good person, if a bit nuts. But
Yeah,
she's a
for
really
sure.
good person.
Without
she's really
a
been
doubt.
there for him.
Without a doubt. And for him especially.
And so he doubles down on that feeling of like, I should break up with her because like she's too good. I'm better off without her.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I can't rely on her anymore.
Yeah.
I'm putting too much on her shoulders.
Without a
of
doubt,
my
yeah,
own.
she's taking on too much of my burden.
Exactly. With him not having feelings for her, it's just like she's taking this because she's compassionate and loving him, but he's not giving anything in return,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so he thinks that she's better off without him. But then when you get to the final part where she's like trying to break up with him when they finally get together,
Yeah.
right? She has this whole internal monologue about how he's better off without her, you know? And I think that's like crazy to me that they both have these same thoughts but in like the opposite directions about each other.
Yeah.
Like we don't deserve each other, even though
Yeah.
like that's crazy. Like they're both using each other but also feel like they don't deserve each other, which is like peak romance.
Yeah, oh, it's
first
the
of all.
greatest, yeah.
And so I loved how she was having those feelings, and he had those feelings when he was going to go break up with her. She had those feelings when she was going to go break up with him, and they were like, you know what, screw this, let's get together.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
why I'm like, I do have a really hard time
Dude,
staying with
she
Tama.
had such a strong season.
Such a strong.
Yeah, this was a
season.
very good Akane season.
Yeah, she really just stole the show there.
But yeah, that really is peak romance.
Yeah.
And for them to both, throw it aside to get together is
A little equal and opposite.
that's as good as it gets. It's as good as it gets.
So good. So then on Akana, right?
Your goat.
I think like one of the quintessential, or like one of the main for me Kana scenes that if you go back, every time he has flashbacks, like every single flashback that he has of like a happy moment,
Yeah.
it goes to Kana when they're playing catch.
Yep.
Which is
Yep.
crazy because it's like such a simple scene.
It's
but
such a small moment.
I love that.
Yeah.
Scene.
Yeah, that was a great scene.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's like, I don't know, his chance to just be a normal person for a
Yeah.
little bit.
Because he's in this dating show and they're all
Yeah.
like scheming against each other, right? And so being able to, he says to her, he's like, I want to have a moment of just like
Yeah.
normalcy,
Yeah.
no strings attached, just hanging out with
Yeah.
someone, right? And that's what that becomes. And I love the choice of catch because I feel like catch, like just throwing a baseball back and forth, that is like such a father and son
Yeah.
activity,
Yeah.
right? And so it's really funny. First of all, because like he is technically in like age years, he's like 45 at this point,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
If you
yeah.
count his previous life, but they do say he like feels like he's 15 again
Mm-hmm.
because he's in that body, but he is a little older, but it's just this idea that he wants, like, he skipped school with a girl, right? That he like kind of likes. She obviously likes him. And she's like, let's do all these like let's go to Tokyo Tower, let's do a roller coaster, Tokyo Disney, whatever. And he's like, let's play catch, because he just wants a wholesome moment, and that's how he sees her, and that's like, that's why I'm so team her, because like, sure, Akane and him, they're like peak drama, they're peak romance. She's ready to friggin' kill for him, dude.
Yeah,
like, but him and Kana, they're there, like. That's your sweet little romance. Right there. That's what, in an
that's
what I feel he needs.
Good and healthy place.
Yeah, right. She's there for him because he is kind to her, right? And you see that in like when they go on that date together.
Yeah, that is good. That's good.
And she's like, "Wow, you really wine and dine." Which, first of all, that scene's awesome because they go like, she's like, they finish up shopping. She like asks him to go out shopping. Yeah. They finish up shopping. He goes, all right, yeah, good. Thanks for helping me out. Let's go. Yeah. And then she's like, well, like, do you want to get food or something, maybe? And he's like, yeah, sure, I guess. Turns out he's had reservations at like the best restaurant in the city. And just like, so what would he have done?
It's so good.
What would he have done if I wasn't like, let's get food?
Yeah. He knew she would.
Yeah.
He's a clever guy, you know?
Like
but no, that is awesome. Yeah, that was great.
But then, like, when she's talking to him during it, he's like, you know, she's like, hey, you obviously have experience with this, right? Like, oh, you're getting a lot of girls this way? Yeah. And he was like, no. And then, like, in his mind, he's like, not for the last decade and a half. And I'm like, homie's a player. Yeah. He was killing it. He was
a young doctor. Yeah. He made money, so.
Yeah. Young doctor in the boonies in his 30s, man. He was
so good.
Ooh, he was killing it.
So good.
Which I love as, like, a little, just, like, picture into old him. You know, like, the only picture of him you really get is him with like Serena. So he was like, oh, he's such a nice like.
Yeah, what was his life like outside of that? Yeah,
no,
that's good.
He got around.
He was having fun, enjoying his life a little bit.
Yeah,
that is great.
But later in that conversation, she's like, Kana is like, well, like, why would you do all this for me, right? Like, you're obviously like trying to get me, right? And he's like, no, it's like if you want someone to have a good time, this is how hanging with them turns out. Like it's like he's like, there is not a bad thought in my head right now. I just want to like be homies with you and like value you, right? And then also another of my favorite scenes, right? The Pieon one.
Yeah.
Where so, you know, he kisses Akane, they get together, right? This is back in the first season after the dating show, right? And Kana's pissed. So then there's like, she's been avoiding him, and the catalyst to all this is really like when they're in the hallway, right? And they're getting ready for the Become Witchy concert, and they've been like practicing, and Kana's like all worn out because the other two are like way more enthusiastic than she is. She kind of only got into it because Aqua talked her into it.
And she's carrying them, so talent-wise.
And then Aqua's like trying to make up with her because she's not talking to him, and so he like gives her water, and she's like, at first she's like, oh, thank you, and then she realizes
like I'm mad at him.
Right? I'm mad at him, yeah. And so then she's like, get out of my sight.
That is great.
And what I loved about that part was that it's like you kind of see the cracks in his shell, and his like, because you know in the first season he's still like the
for sure
conniving dude, right? You haven't seen anything deep, and so you first see the kind of crack in his shell where he's like, as he's like leaving, he's like, you've been acting like this towards me all the time lately. I know you've got a foul mouth and an attitude, right? But even I'll feel hurt if you keep this up, right? It's like, I'm a soft guy.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Like, even I cannot take this.
Yeah, as the sociopath that I am, right? And so then he starts chasing her, right? Even harder, which is where he gets like the whole deal where he switches places with Pia.
Yeah, I love that.
And so like, yeah, he basically trains all the girls. He dresses up as this guy, puts on the like crazy squeaky voice he uses, right? And then
it's so good.
They have the whole balcony talk, which is really good. I loved. My favorite part about that one was where he goes like, she's asking him like, you know so much about me, because he's like, oh, I know you hate like bell peppers, and like I know you got a foul mouth, and you got a complex about this and that, right? And she was like, wow, you know so much about me, like thinking in her head, like, I'm falling for this guy, you know?
I wonder why.
She's like, wow, are you a fan of mine? And he's like, yeah, I'm a fan of you, Kana. And you know, in context, when it's just like, you know, when she's thinking it's Pyeong, she's like, oh, he like is a fan of my childhood work.
Yeah.
What's interesting to like what hits hard for me is that Aqua says I'm a fan of yours in the context of her being like a person, right? It's not about her childhood acting. It's not just about like she has such this complex, and he's like, if she realized, and maybe she does once she realizes that it is Aqua, but you know, thinking on that, it's like he's like, I'm a fan of you for who you are now, which is what she wants validation of. And that's like, that's good. And of course, when she's like sneaking downstairs to go grab some water or something because she can't sleep, and she's like, oh, I wonder what Pyeong looks like under the mask, and it's Aqua, and her face is just like,
that's crazy. That was a good episode.
So good. So I don't know. That was like my main points, the main themes I wanted to touch on.
I really enjoy that analysis of it.
And I guess that's basically, simply put, they're the two foils of him, and I like that it's kind of, to me, what he chooses in the end is what, in a way, like what side of him he's choosing. Right? Is he choosing the darker side? Is he choosing the kinder side? We'll see if that actually plays out, because they obviously have a lot of room to grow. That's how it kind of feels right now, and I think that's a really cool idea from a love triangle, because normally I hate love triangles.
Interesting.
But I think this is the best way.
I do agree. Like, this is an awesome way to look at it. Like,
it's like, which side of you do you choose for yourself? That determines kind of like which
who you're with.
Right. It's like they both have something to offer. Instead of just like two relatively normal girls, two different brands of the same girl who are just like fighting over you, and you're like, this is stupid, right? It's like, all right, like this is like an actual internal struggle for Aqua,
without a doubt.
And who he chooses says a lot about who he is.
No, that is great.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what happens when you add the drama aspect to something like that.
Yeah,
something as cliche as a love triangle.
Yeah. Other random just things on the show. Poppin' 2,
dude, like,
so good.
For us, that's huge because we do a song of the day every day on Instagram, and that was our first song of the day, and still is by far the most viewed and liked.
Yeah. Dude, I like, when I was on Instagram, I liked that one, like, as soon as I saw it, and then, like, my feed started to get just popping to. I liked, like, every single one.
It's everywhere.
It's so good.
It really is. It goes so hard.
It's like my workout song now.
Dude, I've had so many PRs to that song. It's insane. Like,
I love that. It cooks so hard. Like, to be honest, like, none of the B. Kamachi songs have resonated with me all that much. The I ones or the newer ones. But that song, I just cannot get enough of. The video as well is just so good. And Kana really shines in that video. And like, also, I'll give you that.
Yeah, Kana does pop off.
She's so good.
I thought what was really cool in the video was when they had Ruby having that in and out between, like, her dark eyes and her light eyes. Yeah. Because it's like, which day was it on? Did you find the body yet?
Yep. I mean, I think just as a show of a whole, and like, obviously we can touch on whatever, but I thought Ruby was definitely underserved in this season, but it was so cool to have that at the end, like, okay, maybe this plot is going to be taken away from Aqua for now. Yeah. But
which is kind of what I hope happens.
Our light and Sherry Ruby has such deep darkness inside of her as well.
Yeah, because like, she's got the two dark eyes, right? Which, like, the only other person in the show with that's shown is their dad. So, like, she's on some crazy stuff right now.
And, like, they really, really emphasize them more so than ever, the eyes. So that was awesome. But that song's so good. So good. I mean, we already touched on one of my favorite scenes in the whole show is Hakane coming in as high, like, and the music playing. Like, that was just absolutely ridiculously good. I wasn't the biggest Akane guy, but after that, she's just awesome. Because at the end of the day, like, I think we're all I guys in one way or another.
She was our first love.
She really was. She really was. Yeah. All right, what other favorite parts you got? Here, let's see. And any favorite parts you'd like to touch on?
I mean, I've touched on, like, my favorites in the original video.
Yeah.
I think the Mem figuring out the love triangle in the car was hilarious.
That was very funny.
Her realizing, like, she had
she's like, who do I root for?
My teammate or, like, my showmate.
Yep.
Like, one of the two.
It is great.
And we got to talk about the balcony real quick. Right? Yeah. The balcony where it's Aqua and Akane, and then he's like, they're going into it, and she's like really pressing him about like,
Without a doubt.
tell me about your past, like why are you going into acting, whatever, and he's like, screw this girl, I'm gonna like.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make her scared
We're just
of
gonna
me
unleash a little
and be
bit of the
like,
darkness.
what if I was in this hypothetically to kill a high-profile actor who may or may not be my father? And she looks at him and he was like, yeah, what if I was doing this? What would you do? And she looks at him dead in the face and goes, yeah, I'd help you kill him. and then he just is like, oh, you can't say that, girl. You can't do that.
Yeah.
She scares him.
So good. It's so good.
Yeah, if you wanted to knock some guy off, I bet you'd have a reason.
that was the translation was some sort of that. Yeah. If you wanted to knock some guy off. Yeah, I mean, she'd trust that he'd have a good enough reason to kill someone.
Just absolutely asserting dominance over
It's
Aqua
so
in that
good.
moment.
It's so
That
good.
was one of my like scenes that I'm like, all right, I think I might be Team Akane.
Yeah.
It is so good. Like, yeah, I mean, I think I said this in the other podcast. She quite literally matches his freak.
Yeah.
Not to use some
Modern term.
It's true. No, it is without a doubt. Like, that's crazy. Surpassing even.
Which is why it's like low key. I want like I'm so team Kana, but I do feel like the chaos of Akane being like, let's commit some murders
exactly.
together.
Like whatever
Well, just one.
your deep
just
depths hold, like I am right there with you.
Yeah, it's like
It's so good.
man, I wish my girlfriend was that committed to me.
It's hard to find those kind of ladies out there. I think.
Would you help me bury a body? That's my bar now.
Right? It has to be. It has to be because I mean, if she won't, Akane will. Yeah, I mean, I do find it interesting that both that scene and the kind of scene like take place on balconies and are both so meaningful.
Yeah, they really give them both equal time. And I guess one last thing before we go, Angelo probably can't speak to this because he probably knows what the answer is. But I'm curious what your
Interesting.
thoughts.
That's why I haven't spoken a lot during this podcast.
Yeah, sorry, even having to keep silent, being like,
No,
well,
you're
I know
good.
the answer to that. I
No,
know
we
the answer to
respect.
that.
We respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm curious what your thoughts on the eyes are because I don't really know like what do the stars mean.
That's so interesting. Like I've always thought of it as like an inherent talent kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
but the way they play it so much, especially with, I mean, they do it in multiple instances throughout the show, but especially with Ruby there at the end, it is like a darkness,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, it can also be a light too, right?
I guess, yeah, right?
Because they have like the light eye sometimes, they have the dark eye
Yeah,
sometimes,
yeah.
right? Like when Aqua's feeling really happy, his shine, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting.
It's a really, really cool choice.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a really cool choice. Really, like, is a subtle way to show where the characters are at mentally.
Mhm.
I think one of the theories I saw was that it's like, it's very coincidental that as soon as Aqua loses his eye, Ruby gains hers.
Yeah.
I don't think they're connected. I think it is truly a coincidence. But people were there was like a theory that Ruby's second one is because like originally she was living for I.
Yeah.
Now she's living for I and Goro.
Yeah,
because both of
yeah,
them died.
yeah.
Which I thought was an interesting idea.
That kind of just gave me like chills. Like that's a crazy one. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I like that theory, but then I thought about it more and I was like, I don't know, because then you have the like obviously. Well, it could work because Aqua lost his because he was no longer like living for revenge for I.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is tough. Like, what about the girl at like the very end who the father killed?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like, why does I have two of them? Like, why does she have two?
Yeah.
Two stars in her eyes, right? Did she have like some kind of revenge?
Yeah.
And so somebody was another theory was like it's the level of like desire the person has. Like
I find that interesting. Yeah,
for
for
goal.
whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder
If
if
nothing
that,
else, it means this family is very special in an
Mhm.
interesting kind of way.
which makes me wonder: are like the stars in the eyes only in the family, or are they in other people too? Because the girl who
Interesting.
died at the end, right, who the father killed,
Yeah.
is she part of the family, or is she just someone special,
Yeah.
like a rising star with a strong
Yeah.
desire?
Yeah.
So
It's very interesting. What a strong way to end that second season.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, that's what I was
It was nuts. And just to see like the father, even just in the second season, not the last scene, but like to see the father for the first time walking up to the grave, like I've seen photos of him from the manga. He's got the same like color hair as both of them, obviously.
Mhm.
So like just to see him walking up and know what was happening was such a crazy moment.
yeah,
Such a crazy moment.
yeah, banger show.
Yeah.
Absolute banger show.
It really
Couldn't
is.
agree more.
It really is. Well, I I'm happy to have been able to do this. Like, it's really awesome to take the time to dive in so specifically to something in a show. I really appreciate you doing that.
I've been wanting to talk about this for ages with people, so having you guys give me a space to talk about has been a blast.
Yeah. At least 20 people are gonna hear you talk about this.
Let's go. That's all I need.
If one of them will be me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll explode after this.
Yeah, this is it. This is the breakout moment. Yeah. I'm just that charismatic.
Big Mike has gotten us our big break, maybe. I don't know.
I like that.
I don't know. But yeah, it is. It's been such a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Pleasure being on.
Angelo, any last thoughts?
Yeah, thanks a lot for joining us, Big Mike. It's been fun. We should do this again.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm excited to see your guys' guest area. You should start finding more weebs around.
We'll see. Yeah.
Anybody out there?
Crazy.
If anybody out there wants to be a guest star, let us know. DM us on Instagram.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah,
sounds good. Well, thank you guys as always for listening. We will be back next week with potentially another deep dive, right? I mean, is that where we're at?
We might be.
Could be. Might be Jujutsu Kaisen. We'll see.
Could be.
I think that's like number 7 on my list, so we shall see. But yeah, thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace.